Hi, I'm here with Amanda, Megan, Allison, and Giovanna, and we wanted to kind of look at what Generation Y has been through, and we wanted to look at like how our generation is going to be viewed and remembered as. So some of the headlining topics that we're going to hit is we wanted to hit the topic of rebellion and some of our relationships. We wanted to talk about the negative effect of music and how that kind of has shaped our generation. And then we'd also like to talk about tragedy and how we've seen a lot of that, never really seen a time of peace. Okay, now I'm here with Amanda, and she was really researching how our generation has never seen a time of peace. Like all the other generations, like they come home from war or something, they see that it's a real big, like happy, just environment, but our generation has never really seen that kind of. We've always been involved in some kind of war, some kind of feud. Um, so, Amanda, what are some of the tragic events that our generation has lived through, seen, and kind of shaped us?
Just to name a few, there was the Oklahoma City bombing, Columbine, September 11th, the space shuttle disasters, Hurricane Katrina, Virginia Tech, Hurricane Sandy, Boston Marathon bombing, Sandy Hook, and there's been 392 other school shootings since the year 2000. So, and also like not to mention the increasing tragedies with cancer and other like life-threatening diseases.
Yeah, and we see. It seems like we just see more and more violence throughout our generation. It's like I've never seen. Like some people are just extremely violent for some unknown reason, and they go out and do these like murders and stuff. And we even saw in I forget what state it was, but in the movie theater at the like Batman premiere,
Colorado.
Colorado. Whenever went in there, and then that just randomly happened. It's just like people. It seems like people are doing it for absolutely no reason. Whenever this kind of stuff goes on.
Hmm. I think that's the attitude of Gen Y, though. They realize that life could be taken away from them so unexpectedly, and this made them somewhat uncontrolled and reckless. Gen Y began doing things like drugs and alcohol and like getting in trouble with the law at a young age, and it's because like we're so numb to like the tragedy, the violence, the domestic abuse, and all the trauma in our lives that it's becoming somewhat normal to us. Like we have grown a tolerance to it, so since we've seen it so much, like it's becoming more okay with us, and we're starting to do it ourselves.
Okay. And did you have any kind of songs that went along with this? Kind of showed how our generation has seen all these tragic events.
Yeah. So the Black Eyed Peas, like one of their top hit songs is "Where's the Love," and I think this has summed up our generation very directly. Like it says, nations dropping bombs, chemical gases filling the lungs of little ones, with ongoing sufferings as the youth die so young. So ask yourself, is the love really gone? So like with every conflict and war the United States has been in, like today's generation has seen ongoing war and like seen millions go off to war without return. So I think Gen Y has really become numb to the harsh wars since been going on for so long. So people become less sympathetic towards things like this, and it like there's really a big effect. Like we suffer from a lot of trauma from all these attacks and wars and public shootings.
It's almost like most people might be like really shocked, but whenever we see stuff like this, I feel like our generation is kind of like, oh, okay, it's not like a huge. I mean, it's still a shock, but it's not something like crazy, like unheard of, because we've seen a lot of it and we've been around and involved in a lot of it. You know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Amanda. Hi, I'm here with Giovanna, and she is our rebellion expert for the Generation Y. Um, she really looked into this in this paper that we did, and could I get some input on that, Giovanna?
Yeah, like he mentioned, I did do a lot of research, and what I have been finding with everything is that the rates and of our rebellion has been increasing a lot since the generation before us, and also the social approval has been declining. And I found that from Twing, who is a psychology professor at San Diego State University. What I also found is that baby boomers were also considered to be rebellious around their time, but the only difference between us and them is that they would just give up when the times got hard, but we just keep going and don't give up at all.
So it's kind of like what we were saying earlier, how we're setting a bad example, and the baby boomers kind of did that with us too, as like we were saying, like for kids in middle school, and we see them getting worse and worse, and it might be because of us, because they see us, they take after us, you know?
Yeah, that could be very true. I do see it as a negative, but at the same time, I also could see it as being positive because we're also teaching them to be very independent along with the rebelliousness, and we're also teaching them that if you want something and you put it in your mind, you can get it no matter what.
We're being more of like an independent kind of generation. We don't conform, we don't follow. One person that definitely shows this in our generation is Miley Cyrus. And
Oh. Yeah, Miley Cyrus has been scrutinized a lot by the media lately by her crazy things that she's been doing, like twerking on stage and dyeing her eyebrows, and also her whole new album, which includes her rapping, which a lot of people believe she probably shouldn't be doing, but I'm not here to judge. So she is probably the most perfect example because back a few years ago, even she was considered as this like perfect little Southern girl, but now she's like this crazy rebellious idol.
yeah, and even last night I watched the AMAs, VMAs, or whatever it is. I don't know exactly, but I saw her on there, and that was interesting, to say the least. But one song that you said kind of talks about this is "Mosh" by Eminem.
Yeah, Eminem is a big leading part of our generation because a lot of his songs talk about rebellion, and I believe that his song "Mosh" shows the most rebellion because basically the lyrics are like, we're gonna stomp, we're gonna march, we're gonna fight, we're gonna charge, and he keeps saying that over and over, and that really builds up the hype in us and keeps us thinking like, okay, we can do this together. And he also says at the very end is we need to mosh for the future of our next generation, which I believe goes perfectly with this whole podcast.
Thank you. Okay, in our generation, now more than ever, we're starting to see more rap music. It's never really been too popular, but now it's definitely become like the number one genre of music. And Megan, you're saying that it kind of has a little bit of a negative effect on us?
Yeah, the rap music that they play on the radios either has to be blurred out, and it's encouraging like smoking weed and like sex and underage drinking. And according to the article written by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they say over the past years there's been a very large increase in underage drinking and the use of many illegal drugs.
And I think it also kind of gives us a little bit of like a self-centered, narcissistic kind of thing with us too, because all they do is talk about themselves. They like in the generations before, you can see a lot of music that has meaning to it, and it's talking about like
getting money.
I mean, not talking about getting money, you know, all ours is talking about getting money, drugs, whatever. It's all the same. Even trying to analyze these songs, it's nearly impossible because I just repeat myself whenever I try to, you know?
Yeah.
But another thing that's kind of bad is, and with the rebellion, is whenever it always talks about going against conformity, and you see artists pushing that more and more, you know. What was the one song that you were...
The song that I think represents our generation would be Young and Wild and Free by Wiz Khalifa. It's much like the title talks about. We're young and we make stupid decisions, but we learn from them. And it also talks about how we're wild, we make decisions that we shouldn't, but it's all in good fun because we're still learning.
Yeah, and I know Wiz Khalifa, I mean, he's become crazy popular in the past like couple years. I remember whenever he was still just like an underground rapper, you know.
Yeah.
But now that he's out there, he's even starting his own kind of like gang against conformity. He started like Taylor Gang, whatever that is really. It's like he just encourages us, if you drink a lot and if you smoke a lot of weed or whatever, it's like you're kind of in the gang with us.
Yeah.
If you dress like us. He starts like his almost like little cult.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And like
Taylor Gang.
Yeah, Taylor Gang. And people like will follow that, you know? Well, thank you.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm going to talk about relationships. One of the biggest issues with Generation Y's relationships is that they are shying away from dating because of all the unfaithfulness. There is also so many divorces that a married couple gets a divorce every 13 seconds, according to divorce attorney McKinley Irving. The value of marriage and relationships barely exists anymore, which causes Gen Y to resort to hooking up. This is negatively affecting Generation Y as a whole and as well as younger generations. Carrie Underwood shows in her song Last Name how hooking up and not respecting yourself could put you in bad situations. She ends up drinking too much and goes home with some guy. She wakes up the next morning to a ring on her finger and she doesn't even know his last name. This is a perfect example of the behavior of Generation Y and their decline of relationships.
Based off these four topics that we talked about: rebellion, relationship, negative effects of the rap music, and the tragedies that our generation has seen, you really get a look at how our generation acts and our characteristics. But I still think no matter what, you're not going to be able to wrap the generation up in a whole just based off of a couple of characteristics. Everybody's different, and things change as time changes, But I think we are all excited to see how our generation will be remembered and how the generations to come will be remembered. And thank you for listening.